Okay. So, okay, you're not going to believe this, and I'm always afraid to tell it. I've only told a couple of people. And so, a few months ago, I don't know, it was just like, I guess I was realizing it was the beginning of my YouTube channel. And I was realizing like the depth of this, what this awakening thing was. Even when I started the YouTube channel, I'm not so sure I completely understood what the awakening was. But I one night I went to sleep. I was just getting a lot of dreams and visions around this time and synchronicities, but I wasn't asleep. I can't even explain it. I was completely present and alert where I was, and so it started off where all of a sudden I kind of was being ascended, like I was lifting up, and all of a sudden I saw all my past lives. I saw all of the future. I became all knowing. Like I can't even explain it. I knew everything. I knew, I understood the end of all things. I understood God. I understood. And I can't even tell you, like, it just like hit me. And then the next thing you know, this light shot out of my third eye right here. It was like in the shape of an eye. It shot out into the air. And then the next thing you know, all of a sudden, I was from the top part up. I was like turning into, the only way I can explain this is like a comet or something like. Like it was it was like a blazing light, right? And it was just beautiful, and it was like I was starting to shed, come out of, it was just like I was all like my fleshly body was starting to shed, and this beautiful bright whatever was coming out, and a tear started to drop out of my eye as I was coming completely out of myself, and all of a sudden I felt bliss, peace, happiness, and I realized I was God all along. Like all along I was God. And I was just like, I can't believe I've been God all along and I've been in this life. And then the next thing you know, like I guess I made like a groaning, a moaning sound, and my daughter was asleep next to you. She woke me up.
Oh no!
I know, right then, right when I was coming up, I realized I was God, and she woke me up. And she's like, "Mom, are you okay?" She thought I was having a scary
Yeah,
dream,
I was
and
okay.
I know, and I said, I was still in bliss. Like I felt that bliss, peace, love, and I said, everything is gonna be okay. I was just so like happy. I didn't know what was going on. What was that? And so about a week later, maybe 2 weeks, I was sitting in my car and I was meditating. And while I was meditating, my spirit guides, which is weird. This part is not related, but I'm going to say it. For some reason, it's related somehow. I was interested in this guy I was kind of friends with, my neighbor, and I was thinking about him because I felt like this cosmic connection with him. And my spirit guide said, "Imagine a life with him." And I was just like, "No, I don't want to." I put this in my recent video. I was like, "I don't want to imagine a life with him," like because I was afraid like of getting feelings for someone and getting hurt and getting. And I was just like, "What's the use? I can control by not thinking about it." It said, "Just imagine it. Just imagine the life." So I closed my eyes and I imagined us having a life together, our first kiss, our first argument, going out on dates, cooking together, like all of these little events I imagined. Right after I imagined it, I went into meditation and my memories started to uncover from childhood that dream would have that experience. I've had it all the time. And I vague parts of it come up, but I remember like knowing for sure who I was when I was a child and trying to explain it. And I believe that I was told or I was supposed to be here for a reason. I have some type of job here, but I can't. It's not all completely together because, of course, it wasn't in English. You know what I'm saying? It was basically a feeling. It was basically a telepathic communication. But whatever it is, I was this burning thing, this burning, like I want to say it was like a comet. I could never explain it, and I watched this show called The Cosmos, and there on the first episode, about 26 minutes in, it shows how the Earth was created, and it started off with this bang of just this glowy fire looking like a huge comet. Then when I see that, I look at it and I'm like, that was it. That's what I was. That's like what I became, and it felt so real. I know, and it's like at the first day, like now it's been months, and sometimes you know how it's been a long time from experience. I sometimes have my doubts, but like that experience is the reason why I cannot give up because I felt it. I've been there. I want to go back. And for whatever reason I was put here, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability to get us all back because we're all one. We're all connected. And I just was like, whatever it is, because of that moment, this spiritual awakening is my life now. Just like everything, everything I do, whatever, just helping people, raising the vibration. It's just like the earth is in a dark place. And whatever everybody can do who is a light worker or whatever to awaken, it was so strong. Do you believe me?
Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah.
I was afraid that people would think that I had a God complex if I told them that, and I didn't understand like why. When I explained it, I don't even feel right saying it was a dream. I can't even say it was a dream. I can't even say like, maybe, I had a dream I was God because it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like I knew from my soul who I was. And it's unbelievable because I don't know how everything, calculates out as far as source and the different manifestations. I don't know how in the angels and everything else. I just don't know how it works out yet. All the details. I don't know how to explain why I was feeling that. Did I become God, or am I just like just came to the fullness of the true source of who we all are?
Well, Daniel Brinkley, who had a couple books, he had a near-death experience, and he saw the great light, and he moved towards that great light, and he says that that great light is him, and that
It's
ultimately there is just one. Like one girl put it like this, who had a near-death experience. She said, ultimately we're all one, but within that one, there's all of us in here having our own experience. But ultimately, we're all one. We're all connected. So, yeah, you were seeing your ultimate self. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my God. I can't believe I agreed to come here. Like I know.
And some shit.
I know. This is, oh my God, it's not worth it. Oh, like if there is any kind of choice, I know for sure this is the last life for me. Whatever lives I had, I'm not doing it again. So if it means I have to be completely ascend in this life, I am working on that because I don't want to experience it again.
But on the other side, do you think maybe you just get bored? I mean, you're this spirit. Maybe you think, hey, let me come down to earth and play this game where we're in the mud, we're in these low vibrations. I mean, maybe it's just kind of a fun getaway.
It's not fun. The pain that I've suffered, I just don't see it as fun. Trying to figure out this whole manifestation process. I should be recording this conversation.
But you know what? You couldn't experience, you don't know what pain is on the other side, right? How can you know light, or how can you know just light if there's no darkness? How can you know what is a good feeling unless you know what the bad feeling is? Maybe you came to earth to feel those negative vibrations so you know it all.
um, yeah, I mean, if we came to Earth to feel negative vibrations,
I mean,
it's just
well, let me ask you this, and how would you know what loneliness feels on the other side? All right, to be alone, to be lonely, to feel depressed. There's no way you could feel that, right?
but why would we want to be lonely and depressed? I just don't get it. This is not a
Something to do.
vibration that I'm very happy with. Like I
Something to
spent
do. We got
a
forever,
lot
right?
of this life lonely and depressed, huh?
We got forever. On the other side, we got forever and ever and ever. Maybe it's like, hey, I don't know what it's like to feel depressed. Let me feel depressed. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
I guess if you're this all-knowing being and you're bored and you're like, okay, let me go down into Earth and hang out with the low vibrations. I bet you they don't really know what they're getting into.
but ultimately, they're the same, right? They're God too. We're all creator gods.
Hmm.
So you said for a brief moment you knew all your past lives. Have you had a lot of past lives on Earth?
It was millions. I don't even know if they were all my past lives or just all lives. You know what I'm saying? I became all knowing. So I don't know if it was just all the past lives that I saw,
Yeah.
and I saw future lives. I saw future lives too. But I like I said, I'm not doing this life thing again on this earth. So I don't know what future lives I saw, but I'm not gonna do it again. But maybe I saw collectively everybody's
Yeah. I
future.
mean, I mean, ultimately, because I sense that too. That there's just one. Ultimately, there's just one source, one being, and
Mm-hmm.
the source split him or herself into all these beings. And Nancy Dennison talks about that. Yvonne Ballard talks about that in her videos. Daniel Brinkley talks about it. So that's why it makes perfect sense. When you saw the future, did you see like the future Earth and how it's going to turn out?
I saw. Okay, so what I saw. This time, so I saw it as images. Okay, so I was sitting there ascending, and I saw like a bunch of images layered going downwards, and it was like they were layered, and I didn't see like the details of everything. I just was enveloped with the knowledge of all knowing. I knew everything. Like I couldn't believe it. It was just like at that moment I could have. It was like a slide, right? At that moment I could have picked any slide out and known the whole story. That's what it kind of seemed like.
Well, that's amazing. Now, on the other side, in this experience, did you feel that unconditional love, like just a feeling of being home?
Oh my God, it was unconditional love. It was bliss. It was peace. It was the best feeling in the world. It was lightness. It was happiness. It was just this whole blissful, like this oh God, it's just blissful experience. It's like I don't understand how you can ever get out of that experience, but apparently I did. But yeah, it definitely was something that I needed that like I wish it was for longer. I spoke to someone who said that they knew about the experience. They had it too. I had finally found someone who actually found my Facebook page, and they said, "I've been watching your Facebook page." He said, "You know stuff," and he was just like, he wanted to talk to me about some things, and I told him that experience, and he said the reason why I ended up waking up because it wasn't time for me to ascend yet. When my daughter woke me up, and I felt that strongly, like I was just supposed to get a taste of it,
Yeah,
for encouragement. And
sure.
like I often pray to get that experience back. I often pray. And yeah, I just wanted I just got a taste. And then when my memories opened up from my childhood, then I realized, oh my God, this is real. This has happened before. That's the crazy part. It's like it was so real when I was a kid. And I remember trying to tell my mom, and nobody got it. Nobody understood me. They was like, "Oh, you're just having a dream," and but I didn't know. And I feel like of course, your childhood is the most innocent. Your innocence there, and so they say that you're closer to the other realities, the spiritual realities.
Yeah.
And so I also think that maybe whatever experience I was supposed to have on this earth, I probably had to forget because you know what? If I
Sure.
had that experience, there is no way I would position myself on this earth. I'd have never been in a toxic relationship. I would have never been in the cult church. I would have just positioned my life to be like a certain way. And I know that we're not supposed to do that. If we're here for a certain experience, then we have to, get that experience. So we basically, I believe that we basically choose our family. We choose our life here. We choose. Just the whole setting, just so we can experience things. Like I had a broken home. I had a mom that gave up on me, and I remember growing up, I always felt like I wasn't in charge of how my situation was going. I felt like God, things just kept going negative. Like part of it was stuff that I manifested because after my mom left, I pretty much told the universe at 10 years old, my whole life is going to be ruined because of this moment. And every relationship, every foster home, nothing worked out. But I felt like it was all like pushing me. Like I had all that overwhelming negativity that pushed me to the point of, okay, when I met with my husband, a year ago, it was either suicide or wake up. It's just like there was no other way to live. It was either die or have this awakening and realize all of this happened for a reason. And, of course I chose life.
So maybe your life was just getting too far out of hand. They're like, hey, we got to give her a little wake up call, right? I mean, literally, we got to show you what life is really about, why you were here.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
what you mentioned, you definitely need to talk to Yvonne Ballard. Now, I've interviewed her 3 times on my channel. She's got her own YouTube channel, and she cranks out these videos. She died in 2008, went to the other side, and has all this tremendous recall. And you and her would really hit it off.
Hmm.
But I gotta say,
So yes. So do you think that it was a near death experience what I experienced?
be an out
Uh,
of body experience, same thing.
out of body. So I do that as because I'm not. To be honest with you, I know I have this whole spiritual channel. I haven't had an out of body experience. I don't think like
You
not
just
to.
had one.
Huh?
You just had
That was
one.
one. That was
Yeah.
one. See, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
I know I did lucid dreaming when I was younger, but for some reason I'm scared to try it again. I don't even know how to try it. It just kind of happened when I was younger.
So when you talk about
But
lucid dreaming, is that where you're dreaming and you're like, "Hey, I'm dreaming," and you can kind of
yeah, you realize you're awake and you control the
that's
dream.
fun, isn't it? I've done that a few times. I love
Yeah,
it.
I went through a series when I was in church and I married a guy in church, and it was just a really, because everybody was like, get married, you have to get married, and I was so depressed. And I remember I felt like if we get a divorce I'm gonna be kicked out of church, I won't be saved. So at that point I was so miserable that I started dreaming, and in one of my dreams I met a guy who was like my soulmate, and I was like so happy in the dream. And so the next night it began to continue. These dreams would continue, and then I started to realize I was awake in these dreams. I could live the life, and I love to sleep. Because I was so depressed, I would go to sleep, and I've made a series of poems about this, and which is weird. When I started awakening to these like abilities and these dreams and visions, and my one friend told me, oh, he's my one friend. He used to go to church. He go to my church. He left and became a minister. And see, they were against people being ministers. He said, I said they didn't believe me when I told them about the dreams. He said that doesn't. He's because they told us women couldn't preach or be prophets. He said no, a woman can be a prophet. You're probably a prophet. So I asked for some. I asked for some proof, and I went to sleep one night, and I had this crazy dream, but then I woke up and something told me, look at your old, go look up your old dreams, your old, I had a blog of my poetry. They said, go read your poetry, go read it now. And I looked it up. It was still on Tumblr, the poetry. And I realized when I was reading that poetry that, yeah, this is true. Like something was going on with me. Like I wrote things. It wasn't just poetry. I had like blog posts where I was just like, I would talk about the conditioning of the world and how disappointed I was. And I can tell, like, when I'm reading it, I realized I was here observing things, but observing things not knowingly I was observing things. I was definitely, and that's when I saw that was the sign that they gave me when I was like, I wanted proof. I wanted proof. And then I had like a dream where these lights were around me, and the lights were talking to me, telling me I was here for a job. But I was just like, I don't know, because like I vaguely remember, I don't remember like a voice, them saying it, but I just felt it.
You said you had an experience just like this when you were really young. Like, how old were you?
Oh God, I think I was between, uh, I had to be between 4 and 6.
And did you just kind of forget about that until you had this experience again, and that kind of reminded you of the previous one?
Yeah, I totally forgot. I had no idea. Like, I mean, I forgot so much that I still, I want to say my mind has still forgotten it. The only reason why I remembered it because a little bit got uncovered in meditation. But like when I think back, I can't remember the time period. I can't remember the day. Um, just a second. I can't remember the time period. I can't remember the day the dream happened. And I can't remember much. I just know that little bits of the memory started coming back, and some of it I have to piece together myself. I wish I could go completely into the memory and just like figure everything out, because I know then I knew things. I knew what I was supposed to be doing here, and that's one thing I struggle with. I think that I look at people like Teal Swan and how she had her abilities from a young age, and she's so intuitive and so in touch. And it's just like for me, I have to work so hard. Like I know I have it. I know it's there. The intuitive abilities. Like I'll get the dreams, I'll get visions every once in a while, and I'll tell somebody something, and I'm right on. But I'm not confident in it. I don't. It's very unpredictable when it happens, and like I have to work really hard to like get like even my healing abilities. Like I know a lot of it is me doubting myself, but I know that I could do it, but like it's just I feel like I have to work really hard. I questioned. I asked my friend. I said, "Do you think Buddha and Jesus had a hard time healing people when they first started off?" Because we only read about the glorious parts, all the times he did heal people, but they never once put in the Bible when he laid his hands on somebody and they didn't get healed. It says never once mentioned. And does that mean he healed everybody he touched? Because one thing I did notice about Jesus is he asked them that they believe first, and every time they believed, they got healed. And see, if you believe in something, that becomes your reality. So it's not so much, again, he wasn't doing the one that was healing. Just like with Reiki and energy healing, we're merely a channel for the life force energy. And so therefore we are not actually healing them. They are healing themselves, with belief, with faith, with the energy, from the life force and the manipulation of their energy field. It really takes belief. And so, like, that's the one thing about the Bible. They don't, they mention the good stuff, and they mention the stuff the good stuff, the stuff that glorifies Jesus. Don't get me wrong. I don't doubt, that Jesus, I don't know, I have this thing about Jesus. And me and my daughter was talking about it the other day. For the longest, I was a Christian. Jesus was God. And I always wondered, should I be serving and praying to this man, Jesus? But like, Jesus was Lord to me. But the other day, yesterday, I went to something called a Sacred Chambers. And it's this place, it comes from India, where they have these rooms dedicated to the divine, and it's like this meditation and prayer thing. You go into this one room, and the thing is, it's about oneness. Like, it doesn't matter what God or religion, we're all one. And so they had like different pictures of, different gods around in the chamber, and Jesus was one of them. And for some reason, it bothered me. I was okay with the statues, and for some reason, the Jesus picture bothered me. For number one, Jesus didn't look like that. So, and I was telling my daughter yesterday, I said, you know what? I hate to say it, but I kind of have a problem with the idea of praying to Jesus, now. It's just like, now it's just, I said, now I don't think it's wrong. And I also believe that, long as you're praying, if you're praying to God or any God, it's all like, God doesn't see all of the different gods and things. It's like electricity. Electricity will both light up a brothel and in the Victor's Tea Party or a church or something, right? So it's unemotional. The source, the God force, is unemotional, and he couldn't have unconditional love if he wasn't. And so therefore, you could be worshiping Buddha, Pharaoh, Muslim, whatever your God is. He's seeing it that you're trying to worship this higher power, And so I honestly believe that, that's why prayers still come true no matter what religion. That's why you feel the Holy Spirit or God in any religion. And, I think that's the one thing that, is confusing. It's so crazy how the spiritual awakening relates to like every religion in a lot of ways.
Well, you preaching, you know that? Well,
I know. Are you recording?
Yes, I am actually.
Okay.
This you think I'm going to miss this? But you're so right about the spirit. God honors the faith, because I used to say, like, say you see someone on the streets and you give them money, you're helping the poor, but yet they're really a con artist. Like people would ask me, and I would ask people, like, do you think God honors that? And like, yeah, God honors me because I'm giving out of faith, right? I'm giving out of love. This guy might be a con artist, but God's honoring that faith. And I really think that, if you sincerely are seeking God, and it may be Buddha, it may be Christ, or anybody, that when you pray to a higher spirit for help, you're going to get the help, right? I mean, it's because it's the faith, and ultimately, it's the God of the universe. He's not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to honor that because you said Jesus or you said Allah. It's all one.
Yeah.
And one thing, when people have a near-death experience, like in North America, a lot of them will see Jesus. Over there in Iran and stuff, when they die, they'll see Allah. But ultimately, those layers get peeled away, like what happened to you, and then they see, the one source, and Betty Eadie said that when she died, she saw Jesus, and she said that happens. We see what we believed in because the other side doesn't want to shock us. If you believed in Jesus and all of a sudden you die and you see Buddha, you'll be like, oh crap,
That's the one thing they said in the Sacred Chambers. The people that I talked with, they were talking about the different, like, God will manifest in the form that you know him. So, like, they had experience where you request to see God in the physical. You have to, like, ask to see him physical 3 times, right? And they were talking about their experiences where God appeared to them. Like, one appeared as Sri Amma, this lady from India, from the Oneness University. So it appears to how you would see it. And I was thinking, I did request to see a physical appearance of God because I was nervous about it, but you know what? This is a life I want to try it, right?
Sure.
I didn't get that experience though, but I was thinking, I really hope it doesn't show up as Jesus, and not to say like I had any problem, but I just feel like I'm not really resonating with Jesus like that. Jesus was a man like me, you know what I'm saying? I'm realizing that I have the God force within me too, and so I'm no longer looking for a God outside of me to worship. I'm looking to worship the God inside of me and to become my true version, my best version. And so I was thinking that I would want to see, as far as my manifestation, recently, I told you the last time we talked about angels.
Yep.
Okay. And so I told you how I was getting messages from angels and I was nervous because I didn't believe in it, huh?
From Raphael.
Raphael, yeah. I was getting angel messages and I was having skeptic doubts about it. And I had proof, I talked about how, I was getting these messages and I had proof, but it still wasn't enough proof. And I was like, I think I need another sign, right? Well, this week, I started seeing the three number a lot, and I saw 3%. I had 33% battery at 3:33 p.m. and I had 333 subscribers. And I was just like, what's going on? So I posted it. I was like, gosh, on my Facebook, I'll post little things, and I put that on my Facebook. And then I met this woman, this shaman woman, in a group. I was wanting to, share my content on her group, and she called me, and she's a shaman, and immediately. And this is so crazy. She's a shaman, energy healer. And she saw my video. She watched it, and she felt my energy, my connection. And that's one thing people have been telling me. As soon as she called me, she was explaining this energy she felt. I started to feel this energy. And she's like really in tune with herself. And she told me there are 3 angels behind you right now. Wow. She said, you have 3 angels working with you. She said, I don't know their names. And I was just like, 3?
That's it?
That's the message. It was 3. I've been seeing 3s all week, and they were letting me shoot. And then she also explained to me how to start communicating with them, and it really is a faith thing. How to start letting them know that I needed them, because basically angels like to be needed, and if they don't feel needed, they'll go to the next person that needs them. So I'm like, okay, I need you.
What can they do? What can they do though? What can they help you with?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. I was thinking today in the Bible. I was thinking how, because I've been talking, like, ever since I went into the sacred chambers, I asked for a connection to the angels, to utilize them to the fullness, and for them to guide me and to heal me. And so I started to think about, like, I don't know what they're doing. I'm sure they're subtly doing things that's just protecting me, maybe stopping me from getting the car accident, stuff like that. But I really don't know what they're doing and really how to access them. And I'm trying to learn. But I thought about it. Maybe I should look up some instances in the Bible what angels did. And I was thinking about 2 different incidents. Now, the angels can appear as an angel unaware in the flesh, like they did with Lot and his wife, how they became people just to go see. Right. And then I think about how the angel troubled the water, and I was listening. That thought came to my mind, and I was just like, and I was thinking, you beings are pretty powerful. You troubled water, and that water healed. I'm not gonna doubt that you guys don't have abilities. You guys have it, and so if you're here, I expect to see miracles. So I expect to see miracles.
Yeah. I come the same way. I'd be like, hey, I'll take any help you guys want to give me. I don't know what it is. I know you're looking out for me. And like, you said you were robbed one time. Maybe if your angels were around you, maybe they could have prevented that from happening. Maybe.
Oh, no, they tried to prevent it. They told me, they said, get out of there. You about to get robbed. I heard it. And I started getting nervous. My stomach started hurting. My palms started shaking. Everything about me, I knew that I was supposed to leave, but I had my pride, and because of the people I was with, I didn't want to upset everybody. And guess what? I got robbed that day.
If you would have left when you first felt get out, would you have been okay?
I would have been fine. But you know what? I needed to not leave, because that was the day I realized that there's something divine dealing with me. I realized that day that intuition stuff is so real. It wasn't just me thinking that I knew at that point, for now on, my gut feelings, I have to trust them. For now on, when I see coincidences, there's no such thing as a coincidence.
Absolutely. I was going to say those 2 things for you. One, everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidences. And then secondly, follow your intuition, follow your gut feeling. You said that sometimes you doubt yourself and all that. But like that one when I was telling you that one, the first relationship I had where she cheated on my best friend, she was an older woman than me, and my best friend was a lot younger than me. And I just felt, like, and it was like crazy thinking, like, well, there's no way those two would hook up, I mean, there's a huge age difference, but I felt it, and I kind
Mm.
of played it off, and then I don't know, a couple months later, he finally fessed up to it, and so I learned a good lesson, go with your gut, even if it seems wild and crazy, if you got to just go with your intuition. I think that's
Mm.
what we're all given that.
Yeah. True, you do, and that's the one thing. That's the one thing all your life people tell you not to trust.
Yeah, isn't that
You know,
amazing? Yeah.
it's
Hey,
just like with the fluoride in the water. That is the world collectively, like the collective conscious, subconsciously, is completely putting controlling us to the fact that we're shutting down most of these religions, like mine. Like we didn't believe in mysticism, and to keep you, oh, you're gonna die, you're gonna go to hell. But once you've actually abandoned that belief and open up, and I started to see that, oh, I'm not going to die because I know the future. I'm not going to die because the spirit is communicating to me. Oh my God, it's freedom. You start to know what's on the other side. I had no idea in Christianity what was on the other side. All I knew is one day we go to heaven. I didn't know if we were going to be floating blobs, or I didn't have any clue. And if we were going to go to heaven, we were going to be like these perfect beings. And I always imagined being bored. And my church would say, oh, it was just us. We had 5,000 people in our church. And I was thinking, I don't want to spend the rest of my life with these people. And so, I mean, like eternity, not the rest of my life, but
yeah,
eternity.
forever.
It's not fair. Like, why just you guys 5,000? There's so many people in the world, and it's just that never sat right to me. That people was just gonna die.
You know what?
I couldn't believe that God had a heart like that.
And you know what never sat right with me is the Bible. It talks about the new heavens and the new earth, and the streets are paved with gold, and there's 12 gates to the New Jerusalem, and they're filled with rubies and pearls and all that, the pearly gates. And I
That's
used to,
so
th-
carnal.
I used to,
I said that's so carnal.
yeah, I was thinking I'm not going to care if it's made of gold. I mean, why does it got to be made of gold and all this? I'm like in the earthly sense, that's like to impress people, but I'm not going to give a crap up in heaven if the streets are paved of gold and there's
I'm
pearly gates.
not
I
going to be
mean,
trying to chip it away to make me a
yeah,
necklace. Like, why would I want to walk on gold?
it's like what's up with this stuff? So never could understood that. And then, up in heaven, right? There's no more sorrow, no more tears, and you also learn that anger is a sin, being afraid is a sin. And I'm like, well, how am I not gonna have those feelings? It's like in order to get to heaven, some part of me is gonna be taken away. Like I like getting mad sometimes, right? Sometimes we like to vent. Like
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine what I would be like. I'd be. So
That's what our church told us. Like, we didn't just go to heaven being in our church. Our church told us that we had to overcome through a process. We had to work out every sin, anger, jealousy, idolatry, adultery. And we had to just completely eradicate all those sins and be like Jesus.
mm,
And then we could go to heaven. But they didn't teach us how. And they just said, oh, you just got to put it off. You just got to resist the devil. Well, let me tell you something. Resistance makes stronger. That's one thing I've learned. It's like resist the devil and he'll flee from you. And like just ignoring that you're angry. Even the Bible even says, be ye angry and sin not. And I did a video recently about emotions and how, your emotions that you have, that's energy in motion. And it's actually your body communicating something to you. And so if you have anger, you actually need to be angry. You don't need to go hurt somebody, and you need to just be angry and find out why I'm angry and find out why your body is expressing itself this way, because your body, soul, and spirit are all connected. It's all one. You have to incorporate all three, and I truly believe like somehow the body and the soul and the spirit are like three different entities that just make up your person. And I don't know how to explain it, but I feel that way.
you just explained it. That was good.
Because the body communicates to us. Like sicknesses, illness is one thing I learned with energy. A lot of people won't agree with me who are not into believing in the energy fields, but every sickness starts outside your energy field. It's something maybe you're not dealing with cancer. You might be, if you really examine a person who has a real sickness, you might see that they have like something they're holding in their heart. Like my goddaughter, she has this auntie that's dying of cancer, and It's really, really bad. And I was like, I'll do energy session on her. And she was just like, I don't know. She just kind of wants to die. Then I started to learn the history of the background of some really terrible stuff she endured in childhood with her parents. And it was really bad. I don't want to say it, but it was some really bad toxic stuff. And I can see that all her life she's been depressed, and it just ate her away. What happened? When a child is hurt by a parent, that's like that will destroy your life.
Sure.
And yes, people don't realize that they think that, oh, I'm just getting the sickness. But sometimes you have to deal with your body. Your body communicated with you a long time ago before it turned into cancer or before it turned into a cold or a flu. Basically that's just a manifestation. Ignoring your inner voice, ignoring those things, it's going to manifest in something that you can't ignore anymore. It's just like when I had PTSD, I was holding in everything that everybody said to me. And one day I stopped letting anybody get away with stuff. And I started screaming at everybody, cussing them out, going off on them. Because at that point, what I was dealing with manifested into post-traumatic stress disorder. Go ahead. It looked like you were about to say something.
Yeah, but I agree with you on a lot of that stuff. But then again, also just, eating unhealthy stuff can make us sick. Being around people that are sick, cold weather can make us sick. So I agree with what you're saying. But also, people do get sick. I think the body can just, start to deteriorate. I mean, I got high blood pressure.
I do believe that too.
Yeah.
But I also believe that maybe you're more susceptible for sickness because there's an energy deficiency or some type of imbalance. You know what I'm saying? I believe that. I believe the thing about our bodies are not perfect. We have all of this stuff we're dealing with, so we're prone to anything. But you just have to consider the whole realm of things, that the spirit is connected to the body.
So you think if you're really in tune with yourself and in spirit, that one really would hardly ever get sick?
I think so. I mean, I'm not that in tune myself. I just was sick recently. I was bit by a spider. But, I'm not highly in tune myself. I have, sometimes I worry about that. When I get, so, I had this spider bite, and I was, getting, and, I'm I'm going to be an energy healer. I'm supposed to be healing people. And that one thing they teach you is you got to, heal yourself. But one thing I have noticed since my spiritual awakening, a lot of things has changed about me. And I noticed I don't get sick as much anymore. I barely, get cold. I got the flu recently, but I honestly felt like that flu had a spiritual meaning.
What happened to the spider bite?
Oh yeah, they thought it was a black widow spider or a brown recluse. But the thing is, the first day I went in, the doctor was like, I went to emergency. He says, spiders don't generally bite people. That looks like a hair follicle or a pimple, and sent me home. Then the next time I came in, he said, oh, it's just a regular bug bite. So I missed the window to get the venom shot. And so my arm got real swollen, and I started the whole arm was hurting.
Wow.
The other doctor decided to slice into it. Oh, it's just a regular bug bite. We're going to slice into it, take it out. It will be no infection. It'll all be gone. He sliced into it. I got more infected, and I started having red veins come up my arm and blood poisoning. It just got nasty. And so
was it a spider bite then?
It was definitely a spider bite. I finally found a doctor that actually acknowledged that. And
but it was too late to give the anti-venom and all that.
Yeah, so I just had to deal with, taking the antibiotics. And even with that, I think that it had a meaning. I'm not sure I've uncovered the whole meaning. I believe there's a spiritual meaning in everything. But I think it had a meaning. But I just remember at one point I felt my spirit tell me to stop taking the antibiotics.
Maybe the meaning was you knew it was a spider bite, right? Or you felt it was. And everyone's telling you, no, it's not. No, it's not. Maybe it's like, hey, follow your heart, right? Follow your intuition.
Yeah, but the thing is I can follow my intuition, but none of the doctors were believing me. I'm telling them I'm going to different hospitals.
No, I know I'm right. I'm not taking no for an answer.
You know what? And that I guess that was the hard part. My friend was like, you need to make sure you tell them this. And then I went there, and I was there with another friend who was passive. And I ended up getting mad because the doctor wouldn't listen to me, and I stormed out of there. And it's just I don't know. I'm so against doctors now. Growing up, I thought doctors were like the holy grail, that they knew everything. And then to come to find out, they only know how to treat the symptoms. I remember I had a condition called endometriosis, and I had abdominal pain for a long time. I kept going to the doctor. She says, people just get pain sometimes. And I'm like, what? And so I went and Googled, found out look it, I want you to check this out. I think I might have endometriosis. And she says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I never thought about that. And
Yeah.
sent me, and I had to get surgery.
You figure there's
But
so
I diagnosed
much.
myself.
There's so much.